Just this week we started backfilling, and it actually kept me up at night. I mean, I've been waking up at 4 in the morning and thinking about this build a lot, and it's really kept me up at night. How we're going to backfill, let me show you, because it's a really, really tricky, and we've got a solution, I think. So we've cut out the land, we've built the concrete retaining wall, we've then insulated it with 300mm polystyrene, waterproofing, this radon membrane on the outside, then this wall drain goes in, there's loads of layers. And then we've got to push the soil back onto it. But what we need to keep is a sort of a chunk of gravel against the back wall, because we need to build a little foundation on top of that. And building a foundation on made up ground is an absolute, you just don't do it. It's like, nah.
You dig through the made up ground onto
foundation and then come up.
And then you pay for a lot of concrete.
Lots of concrete. So we started trying to do this backfill system where we're using this geotextile, we flip it over, we put in some gravel, we flip it over, we put in some soil, we whack a plate the soil, we flip it over, we put in some gravel, we whack a plate the soil.
So you're creating sort of series of channels that are
series of allowing we're just trying to get
water to move away.
No, we're just trying to get a strip of consolidated gravel and consolidated
so it's about containing it.
Yes.
So the geotextiles to contain this.
Stop it moving. Yeah, to stop it moving into each other. So we started doing this. We did the calculations. We're going to need about between 120 and 180 tons. 18
loads, or 15 loads. Or
yeah,
something like that,
at sort
not
of
easy to bring in either.
No, at £15 a ton.
Yeah.
So let's say £2,500 worth of
just aggregate
onto site. Then you got to get it in. This took 3 of them half a day to fill 700-800 mil. I mean,
that's the night you didn't sleep.
And that's when I stopped sleeping.
Worked out how many days that was going to take and how much that was going to cost.
And I suddenly went, there goes my entire contingency. Sleepless night, a lot of phone calls. It was only yesterday, a lot of phone calls. And we've got a solution which is going to be brilliant. We've got 610 mil deep. So that deep, 1.2 by 2.4 metre sheets of polystyrene coming.
Blocks of polystyrene.
Giant blocks of polystyrene. Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited about this. They use it for landfill. They use it for building up landscape because it's cheap, it's quick, it's strong, it doesn't go anywhere, it's inert, it just sits underground for hundreds of years, doesn't do anything.
Although it doesn't break down, it's not the most eco-friendly materials.
But actually, the amount of oil in that, it only weighs about 15 kilos. It's air, basically, with a little bit of oil, compared to moving 200 tons of soil or 150 tons of soil onto site and then diggers and all of that. It's actually more sustainable. I'm sure of it. I haven't done the exact calculation.
Is it adding to the insulation as well, or not
It
really?
will add to the insulation, and it will add another layer to waterproofing. So we are basically going to stack a massive chunk of polystyrene around the back of it, backfill it with the soil as originally, with whack a plate, and then build a stone wall on top of it.
I can understand the economics of it, but can you build a concrete or blockwork wall onto polystyrene? I mean, what's the compressive strength of polystyrene?
That whole house sits on polystyrene. That whole house sits on 300mm of polystyrene. So yes. As long as you spread the load, you can do it. In order to construct this building, we had to dig a big hole, of which you can see the part of the spoil over there, and build the house, and then backfill against the building. So if you imagine the house is like that, there was a huge slope, we had to fill that over, which is what we've now achieved. Now, we needed to build a wall. There will be a sort of dry stone looking wall up here, which sort of creates the outside of the building against the common, and also all our waterproof finishes come to. So we need to build on what is in the trade called made up ground, which is an absolute no-no. You don't build on made up ground because it moves and sinks and settles over time. So what we were originally planning to do was gravel. So you put a geotextile membrane, so a membrane designed to go underground. You put gravel, you flap it over, a bit of soil, flap it back, gravel, flap it back, soil, flap it back, gravel, and build up. And it was a nightmare. And we started doing it on that last lower section down there, and it took about a day to do sort of 3 meters about that deep. And remember, we got 40 meters, 3 times that. So, you know, we were looking at months of weeks at least of backfilling. So we had to think again. So slam the brakes on that. And sort of went off and had a bit of a think and came up with an idea of using giant blocks of polystyrene. So underneath this concrete ring beam, a 600mm wide blocks of polystyrene, 2.4 meters high, 1.2 meters wide. And we sat those onto gravel, so the bottom drained, stacked them up vertically, and then we could just backfill this soil, dump it in, run it over with the digger and the dumper, and not worry too much that this is going to settle. And what's going to happen is that the ring beam will stay here and the ground will slowly settle as it compacts over time. But that doesn't matter, because what we can do is just put a bit more soil on there, and if we need to, sort of build it back up over time. The concrete, the polystyrene, isn't going anywhere. In fact, we reckon will have settled about a millimetre or two when this beam was cast on top of it, it's concrete beam, and then it's done. So the fact is, the polystyrene cost me half the cost of the gravel to do. It cost me about £1,300, £1,400. The gravel was going to be about 2.5 to 3 grand, and then all the labour of getting it in. To get the polystyrene in, it's delivered over there, we carried it over, 2 people on a block, and put it in carefully, and off we went. It's probably about the smartest thing I've done on this entire build, which is, which was good, because we needed to get out of jail. We needed to get out of jail card, and we kind of found one. And actually the backfill's been remarkably pain-free, I think would be the answer.